Michael Joseph Jackson was born on August 29, 1958, in Gary, Indiana, a small industrial city near Chicago. He entered the world as the eighth of 10 children in the Jackson family. His father, Joseph Walter Jackson, worked long hours at a steel mill to support the large family, while his mother, Catherine Esther Jackson, stayed home to care for the children and manage the household. The Jackson family lived in a tiny two-bedroom house on Jackson Street in a working-class neighborhood. Money was always tight, and the children often shared beds and clothes. Despite the financial struggles, the house was filled with music. Catherine played the clarinet and piano, and she loved country and folk music. The children grew up singing together and listening to rhythm and blues on the radio. Joe Jackson had once played guitar in a small rhythm and blues band called the Falcons. Although his own music career never took off, he noticed that his sons had natural musical talent. In the early 1960s, he began organizing his three oldest sons, Jackie, Tito, and Jermaine, into a musical group. They would practice for hours after school and on weekends. Young Michael would watch his older brothers rehearse. He was fascinated by their music and dancing. Even though he was very young, he would copy their moves and sing along. When Michael was just 5 years old, his father added him and his brother Marlon to the group. They became known as the Jackson Five. Joe Jackson was a strict father and manager. He believed that discipline and hard work were the only ways his sons could escape poverty. The boys practiced every day after school, sometimes for 3 or 4 hours. If they made mistakes, Joe would criticize them harshly. This strict upbringing would affect Michael for the rest of his life. Michael quickly stood out from his brothers. He had a natural ability to sing with emotion and power that seemed impossible for such a young child. He could hit high notes perfectly and knew exactly how to move his body to the rhythm. His brothers noticed this and agreed that Michael should become the lead singer, even though he was one of the youngest. The family began entering local talent shows around Gary and the surrounding areas. Michael would watch famous performers on television, especially James Brown, Jackie Wilson, and the Temptations. He studied their every move and learned to dance by imitating them. By the time he was 6 years old, Michael could perform complicated dance steps and slides that amazed audiences. The Jackson Five started performing at local clubs, school functions, and community centers. They played at small venues throughout Indiana, Illinois, and other nearby states. Word began to spread about this group of young brothers, especially about the little boy who sang and danced like a professional entertainer. In 1967, the group won a major talent show at the famous Apollo Theater in Harlem, New York. This was a big achievement because the Apollo was known for having tough audiences. Winning there meant you had real talent. After this victory, several record labels became interested in the group. During these early years, Michael's childhood was very different from other kids his age. While other children played outside and went to birthday parties, Michael spent most of his time rehearsing and performing. He attended regular school but often felt different from the other students. He was shy and found it hard to make friends because he was always busy with music. Despite missing out on normal childhood activities, Michael loved performing. He felt most comfortable and happy when he was on stage. The applause and excitement from audiences gave him a feeling he could not get anywhere else. Even as a young child, he seemed born to be an entertainer. The Jackson family's hard work and sacrifice were about to pay off in ways they could hardly imagine. By 1968, when Michael was just 10 years old, the Jackson Five were on the edge of becoming one of the biggest musical acts in America. Everything was about to change for the boy from Gary, Indiana. In 1968, the Jackson Five got their big break when they were introduced to Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown Records in Detroit, Michigan. Motown was the most successful black-owned record label in America and had launched the careers of artists like Diana Ross and the Supremes, Stevie Wonder, and Marvin Gaye. Getting signed to Motown was like winning the lottery for young musicians. There are different stories about how the Jackson Five met Berry Gordy. Some say Diana Ross discovered them, while others say it was Gladys Knight or Bobby Taylor who brought them to Gordy's attention. Whatever the true story, Berry Gordy saw something special in the group when he watched them perform. He was especially impressed by young Michael, who sang and danced with the confidence and skill of someone much older. Motown signed the Jackson Five in March 1969. The family moved from Gary to Los Angeles, California, where Motown had relocated its operations. This was a huge change for the Jackson children, who had never lived anywhere else. Los Angeles was bright, sunny, and full of opportunities that seemed impossible back in Indiana. Berry Gordy and his team at Motown took control of almost everything about the Jackson 5. They chose the songs the group would record, designed their clothes, taught them how to move on stage, and created their public image. Motown had a system for developing artists, and they put the Jackson 5 through intensive training. The group's first single, I Want You Back, was released in October 1969. The song was catchy and upbeat, with Michael's young voice full of energy and feeling. It shot to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in January 1970. This was remarkable because very few groups had their first single reach #1. But the Jackson 5 did not stop there. Their second single, ABC, also reached #1 in April 1970. Then their third single, The Love You Save, hit #1 in June 1970. Their fourth single, I'll Be There, reached #1 in October 1970. No group had ever had their first 4 singles all reach #1. The Jackson 5 had made history. Michael was just 11 years old, but he sang with maturity and emotion that touched people's hearts. When he sang, I'll Be There, people could hear real feeling in his voice. He was not just singing words, he was telling a story and making people believe it. This ability to connect with audiences through music would become Michael's greatest strength. The Jackson 5 became one of the biggest acts in the world. They appeared on popular television shows like The Ed Sullivan Show and American Bandstand. They had their own cartoon series and lunchboxes with their faces on them. Millions of young fans, especially girls, screamed and cried at their concerts. The group toured constantly, performing in cities across America and around the world. They played in huge arenas filled with thousands of fans. Michael and his brothers became experts at entertaining large crowds. They developed tight choreography, matching outfits, and a professional show that impressed audiences everywhere. Despite all this success, life was not easy for young Michael. He was working like an adult while still being a child. He had tutors for school instead of attending regular classes with other kids. He could not go to the park or the movies without being mobbed by fans. His father, Joe, remained strict and demanding, always pushing the boys to work harder and be better. Michael later said that his father would criticize his appearance, especially his nose and his acne, which made him feel insecure. The constant rehearsing and performing left little time for normal childhood experiences. While other kids were learning to ride bikes and playing sports, Michael was in recording studios and on tour buses. At Motown, Michael also began recording solo albums alongside his work with the Jackson 5. His first solo single, Got to Be There, was released in 1971 and reached #4 on the charts. In 1972, he recorded Ben, a song about a pet rat, which became his first solo #1 single. These solo records showed that Michael had the talent to succeed on his own. By 1975, the Jackson 5 had sold millions of records and had become one of the most successful groups of the decade. They had proven that young black artists could cross over and appeal to audiences of all races. They opened doors for many artists who came after them. However, tensions were growing between the Jackson family and Motown Records. Joe Jackson felt that Motown was not paying the group fairly and had too much control over their music. The brothers wanted more creative freedom to write and produce their own songs. These disagreements would soon lead to a major change in the group's career. In 1975, the Jackson 5 left Motown Records and signed with Epic Records, a division of CBS Records. However, Motown owned the name Jackson 5, so the group had to change their name to the Jacksons. This move gave them more creative control and better financial terms, but it also meant starting over in some ways. During the late 1970s, Michael continued performing with his brothers, but he was also thinking about his own artistic direction. In 1978, he acted in the movie The Wiz, a remake of The Wizard of Oz with an all-black cast. On that film set, he met Quincy Jones, a legendary music producer and arranger. This meeting would change Michael's life and the history of popular music. Quincy Jones agreed to produce Michael's next solo album. They worked together to create Off the Wall, which was released in August 1979. Michael was 20 years old and wanted to be taken seriously as an adult artist, not just as a former child star. The album mixed disco, funk, pop, and soul in a fresh way that appealed to many different audiences. Off the Wall was a huge commercial success. It produced 4 top 10 singles, including Don't Stop, Till You Get Enough, and Rock With You, which both reached #1. The album eventually sold over 20 million copies worldwide. It showed that Michael Jackson could succeed as a solo artist and compete with any other performer in the music industry. Despite this success, Michael felt disappointed when Off the Wall did not win more Grammy Awards. He was determined that his next album would be so good that it could not be ignored. He spent months working on new material, writing songs, and planning every detail. In 1982, Michael released Thriller, again produced by Quincy Jones. This album would become the best-selling album of all time. Thriller had something for everyone. It included pop songs, rock songs, funk songs, and ballads. Michael worked with different artists, including Paul McCartney and Eddie Van Halen, to create a diverse sound. The album produced 7 top 10 singles. The Girl Is Mine, a duet with Paul McCartney, was released first. Then came Billie Jean, a song about a woman claiming Michael was the father of her child. Beat It was a rock song with a guitar solo by Eddie Van Halen. Wanna Be Startin' Somethin' was a funk track with African influences. Human Nature was a soft ballad. PYT, Pretty Young Thing, was an upbeat dance song. And the title track, Thriller, became one of the most famous songs ever recorded. Thriller stayed at #1 on the Billboard album chart for 37 weeks. It won 8 Grammy Awards in 1984, including Album of the Year. It has sold over 66 million copies worldwide and continues to sell today. The album broke down racial barriers, as Michael became the first black artist to receive heavy rotation on MTV, the music video channel. Music videos became Michael's way to express his artistic vision. He did not just record songs, he created short films to go with them. The video for Billie Jean showed Michael dancing on sidewalk squares that lit up when he stepped on them. His performance was magical, with his feet moving so quickly and precisely that viewers watched it over and over. During the Motown 25th anniversary television special in May 1983, Michael performed Billie Jean and unveiled the moonwalk for the first time. This dance move, where he appeared to glide backwards while trying to walk forward, became his signature. The performance made people around the world stop and watch. Even professional dancers were amazed by his skill. The music video for Thriller was released in December 1983. Directed by John Landis, who had made popular comedy movies, it was 14 minutes long and cost $500,000 to make, which was extremely expensive at the time. The video told a story with dialogue, special effects, and elaborate choreography featuring dancing zombies. It was like a short horror movie with music. Thriller, the video, changed the music industry. MTV played it constantly, and it became an event when it aired. Other artists realized they needed to make better, more creative videos to compete. Music videos became an art form, not just promotional tools. Michael's influence extended beyond music and videos. His fashion choices became trends. He wore a single white sequined glove, which became his trademark. He dressed in military-style jackets with gold braiding. He wore loafers with white socks. Millions of young people copied his style. In 1984, Michael performed on the Victory Tour with his brothers. The tour was hugely successful, breaking attendance records across the country. However, Michael found touring with his family stressful because of ongoing conflicts and different artistic visions. He decided this would be his last major tour with the Jacksons. In 1985, Michael co-wrote We Are the World with Lionel Richie. This charity single brought together 45 of the biggest American music stars to raise money for famine relief in Africa. The song showed Michael's concern for humanitarian causes and his ability to bring people together for important purposes. Michael released his next album, Bad, in August 1987. The album had to follow Thriller, which seemed impossible. While Bad did not sell as many copies as Thriller, it was still a massive success, selling over 35 million copies worldwide. It produced 5 #1 singles, including I Just Can't Stop Loving You, Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, and Dirty Diana. The music video for Bad was directed by Martin Scorsese, a famous film director. Michael's videos were now being made by Hollywood directors, showing how important they had become. The Smooth Criminal video featured an elaborate set recreating a 1930s nightclub and included a dance move where Michael leaned forward at a 45-degree angle, seemingly defying gravity. The Bad World Tour ran from 1987 to 1989 and was Michael's first solo concert tour. He performed 123 shows to over 4.4 million fans across 15 countries. The shows featured incredible production values, with elaborate sets, costume changes, and special effects. Michael's dancing and singing were at their peak, and audiences were amazed by his live performances. By the end of the 1980s, Michael Jackson was the biggest star in the world. He was called the King of Pop, a title Elizabeth Taylor gave him at a ceremony. His influence on music, dance, fashion, and music videos was enormous. He had achieved a level of fame that few entertainers ever reach. As Michael Jackson's fame grew throughout the 1980s, people began to notice changes in his physical appearance. His skin tone became lighter, his nose appeared smaller and more refined, and his facial structure looked different from when he was younger. These changes led to intense public speculation, media scrutiny, and countless rumors about what Michael was doing to himself. Michael addressed these changes in various interviews over the years. He said he had vitiligo, a skin condition that destroys the pigment-producing cells in the skin, creating patches of lighter skin. Vitiligo is a real medical condition that affects about 1% of the world's population. Michael said the condition ran in his family and that he used makeup to even out his skin tone because the patches were uneven and noticeable. In 1993, Michael gave a rare television interview to Oprah Winfrey, one of the most-watched interviews in television history. During this interview, he discussed his changing appearance directly. He confirmed that he had vitiligo and showed Oprah his hand, where the different pigmentation was visible. He also admitted to having had plastic surgery on his nose twice because he broke it during a dance routine. He said he also had a cleft put in his chin, but denied all the other rumors about extensive plastic surgery. However, many people remained skeptical. Photographs from different years showed continued changes to his facial features. Medical experts and plastic surgeons who analyzed his photos suggested he had undergone multiple procedures, including several nose surgeries, cheek implants, lip thinning, and eyebrow shaping. The truth about the extent of his cosmetic procedures remained a subject of debate. Michael's changing appearance became a difficult topic for him. He felt that people focused too much on how he looked rather than his music and humanitarian work. In his autobiography, Moonwalk, published in 1988, he expressed hurt and frustration about the constant speculation and criticism regarding his appearance. Beyond his physical appearance, Michael's personal life was unconventional and often mysterious. In 1988, he purchased a 2,700-acre property in Santa Barbara County, California, which he named Neverland Ranch after the magical place in the Peter Pan story. Michael identified with Peter Pan, the boy who never grew up, because he felt he had missed his own childhood. Neverland Ranch became Michael's private fantasy world. He spent millions of dollars developing the property into an entertainment complex. He installed amusement park rides, including a Ferris wheel, carousel, and roller coaster. He built a private zoo with exotic animals, including elephants, giraffes, and his famous pet chimp, Bubbles. There was a movie theater, a video game arcade, a train station with a working train, and manicured gardens with statues. Michael said he created Neverland to give children a magical place to visit, especially sick children from hospitals and underprivileged kids who never had such opportunities. He regularly invited groups of children to the ranch to enjoy the rides and meet the animals. However, his close relationships with children would later become controversial and lead to serious legal problems. In terms of romantic relationships, Michael's personal life was often the subject of media speculation. He was linked to various celebrities, including Brooke Shields, Tatiana Thumpson, and Madonna, though most of these relationships appeared to be friendships rather than romantic partnerships. In May 1994, Michael surprised the world by marrying Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis Presley. The marriage seemed unlikely to many people, and some suggested it was a publicity stunt designed to improve Michael's image after the first child abuse allegations in 1993. Lisa Marie insisted the marriage was real and that she loved Michael. The couple appeared together at the MTV Video Music Awards and gave a joint interview to Diane Sawyer trying to prove their relationship was genuine. However, the marriage was troubled from the start. Lisa Marie later said that Michael had discussed having children with her and that there were genuine feelings between them, but the relationship could not survive the pressures they faced. They divorced in January 1996 after less than 2 years of marriage. Just months after divorcing Lisa Marie, Michael married Deborah Jean Rowe in November 1996. Debbie Rowe was a dermatology nurse who had worked with Michael's dermatologist, Dr. Arnold Klein. Rowe was already pregnant with their first child when they married. Their son, Michael Joseph Jackson Jr., known as Prince, was born in February 1997. Their daughter, Paris Michael Catherine Jackson, was born in April 1998. The marriage to Debbie Rowe was even more unusual than his first marriage. They rarely appeared in public together and seemed to have an arrangement rather than a traditional marriage. Rowe later said she had the children as a gift to Michael because he wanted to be a father. They divorced in 1999, with Rowe giving Michael full custody of the children. In 2002, Michael had a third child, Prince Michael Jackson II, known as Blanket, through a surrogate mother whose identity was never publicly revealed. Michael was extremely protective of his children's privacy. When they appeared in public, he often covered their faces with masks, veils, or blankets. This practice struck many people as strange, but Michael said he did it so his children could have normal lives when they were not with him. One incident in November 2002 caused worldwide shock and criticism. Michael was staying at a hotel in Berlin, Germany, and appeared on a balcony holding Blanket, who was 9 months old. Michael briefly dangled the baby over the balcony railing while fans watched from below. The incident was captured on video and broadcast around the world. Michael later apologized, calling it a terrible mistake made in a moment of excitement. Michael's relationships with his own family were complicated. He had a difficult relationship with his father, Joe, throughout his life. He blamed Joe for his lost childhood and said the strict discipline and criticism had caused him psychological damage. However, Michael remained close to his mother, Catherine, who he described as the source of love and support in his life. His relationships with his siblings varied. He was close to his sisters, Janet and Latoya, at different times, though these relationships had their ups and downs. His relationships with his brothers were often strained by business disagreements and different career paths. Michael's success far exceeded that of his siblings, which sometimes created jealousy and tension within the family. Michael's lifestyle became increasingly isolated as the years went on. He trusted fewer people and surrounded himself with employees and handlers rather than genuine friends. He rarely went out in public without elaborate security arrangements. When he did appear in public, he often wore disguises or surgical masks. This isolation, combined with his unconventional lifestyle, his changing appearance, and his unusual relationships, made Michael Jackson one of the most fascinating and misunderstood celebrities in the world. People were curious about him, but many of the details of his personal life remained private or became the subject of rumors and speculation. In August 1993, Michael Jackson's life changed dramatically when he was accused of child sexual abuse for the first time. A 13-year-old boy named Jordan Chandler claimed that Michael had molested him at Neverland Ranch and other locations. The boy's father, Evan Chandler, a dentist, made the allegations and contacted lawyers. The news became public, and it shocked the world. Michael was in the middle of his Dangerous World tour, performing to sold-out crowds across the globe. When the allegations became public, Pepsi immediately canceled their endorsement contract with Michael, and his public image began to suffer serious damage. Police conducted searches of Neverland Ranch and Michael's other properties. They interviewed children who had visited Neverland and people who worked for Michael. The investigation was extensive and received constant media coverage. Photographers and news crews camped outside Neverland and followed Michael everywhere. In December 1993, police obtained a search warrant to photograph Michael's body, including his genitals. Jordan Chandler had given a description of Michael's private areas, claiming he could identify specific marks and colorations. This humiliating procedure was carried out at Neverland Ranch, with photographers present to document it. Michael later described this experience as one of the most degrading of his life. Michael strongly denied all the allegations. He released a public statement saying he was innocent and that he would never harm a child. He said his love for children was pure and that he only wanted to help them through his charity work and by providing them with happy experiences at Neverland. However, in January 1994, before the case went to trial, Michael reached a settlement with the Chandler family for a reported amount between $15 million and $23 million. The settlement included a clause that prevented the family from making any further public statements about the case. The criminal investigation continued briefly after the settlement, but without the cooperation of the main accuser, prosecutors decided they did not have enough evidence to bring charges. Many people questioned why Michael would settle if he was innocent. His lawyers said the settlement allowed him to avoid a long, painful trial that would have been a media circus. Others said settling made him look guilty and that an innocent person would have fought the charges in court. The 1993 allegations permanently damaged Michael's reputation, even though he was never charged with a crime. After the settlement, Michael tried to move forward with his life and career. He released the H.I. Story album in 1995, which included new songs and a greatest hits collection. Some of the new songs seemed to address the allegations, with lyrics about being persecuted and misunderstood. He married Lisa Marie Presley and later Debbie Rowe, had children, and continued making music. For nearly a decade, Michael managed to avoid major legal troubles, though the 1993 allegations were never forgotten. Then, in November 2003, he was arrested again on child molestation charges. This time, the accuser was a 13-year-old boy named Gavin Arvizo, who had appeared in a documentary with Michael earlier that year. The documentary, called Living with Michael Jackson, was made by British journalist Martin Bashir. In it, Michael admitted that he allowed children to sleep in his bedroom, though he said he slept on the floor while they took the bed. He described these sleepovers as innocent and compared them to having a family sleepover. These statements alarmed many viewers and led to renewed investigations by authorities. Gavin Arvizo was a cancer survivor who Michael had befriended and helped during his illness. The boy and his family had spent time at Neverland Ranch. After the documentary aired, Gavin claimed that Michael had given him alcohol and sexually abused him. His brother claimed to have witnessed some of the inappropriate behavior. The case went to trial in early 2005 in Santa Maria, California. The trial became one of the most-watched court cases in history. Media from around the world descended on the small town. Hundreds of Michael's fans gathered outside the courthouse every day to show their support. Television networks provided daily coverage of the proceedings. The prosecution presented testimony from Gavin and his family members. They called other witnesses who described suspicious behavior by Michael with young boys over the years. They brought in evidence about Michael's lifestyle and his relationships with children. The prosecutors painted a picture of Michael as a predator who used his fame and wealth to exploit vulnerable children. The defense team, led by attorney Thomas Messerow, fought back aggressively. They attacked the credibility of the Arvizo family, showing that the mother had a history of making false claims and seeking money from celebrities. They demonstrated inconsistencies in the accuser's stories. They brought in witnesses who testified that they had spent time with Michael as children and had never been abused or seen anything inappropriate. Several of Michael's celebrity friends testified on his behalf or provided statements of support, including Macaulay Culkin, who said he had spent numerous nights at Neverland as a child and had never been abused or seen any inappropriate behavior. Other former child guests at Neverland told similar stories. The trial lasted 5 months. Michael attended every day, often arriving late, which annoyed the judge. He appeared fragile and unwell, having lost weight and looking weak. The stress of the trial was clearly affecting his health. On several occasions, he had to be taken to the hospital during breaks in the trial. The jury deliberated for about a week before reaching their verdict. On June 13, 2005, Michael Jackson was found not guilty on all charges, including 4 counts of molesting a minor, 1 count of attempted child molestation, 1 count of administering an intoxicating agent, and 4 counts of conspiracy. The verdict meant the jury did not believe the prosecution had proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. Michael's fans celebrated outside the courthouse. Michael himself was relieved but exhausted. He released a statement thanking his supporters and the jury. However, the trial had taken an enormous toll on him physically, emotionally, and financially. The legal fees for his defense were reported to be around $30 million. His reputation was further damaged, and many business opportunities disappeared. Major corporations did not want to be associated with him. Radio stations reduced the amount of airtime they gave to his music. Even though he was found not guilty, many people still believed the accusations, and the stigma remained. After the trial, Michael left the United States and spent time in Bahrain, Ireland, and other countries. He rarely performed or appeared in public. His financial situation became increasingly difficult. He had spent money lavishly for years, buying expensive art, jewelry, and antiques. The cost of maintaining Neverland Ranch was enormous. He had taken out large loans using his music catalog as collateral. The accusations and trials of 1993 and 2005 overshadowed much of Michael's artistic achievements and humanitarian work. They created a complicated legacy that continues to be debated today. Despite the controversies that surrounded his personal life, Michael Jackson was deeply committed to humanitarian causes throughout his career. He donated hundreds of millions of dollars to charity and used his fame to draw attention to important issues around the world. His charitable work is an important part of his legacy that sometimes gets overlooked because of the scandals. Michael supported 39 different charitable organizations during his lifetime, which earned him a listing in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most charities supported by a pop star. These organizations focused on various causes, including children's welfare, education, HIV/AIDS research, cancer treatment, poverty relief, and disaster assistance. One of Michael's most famous charitable efforts was We Are the World, recorded in 1985. Michael co-wrote the song with Lionel Richie specifically to raise money for famine relief in Ethiopia and Africa. The recording session brought together 45 of the biggest names in American music, including Bruce Springsteen, Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, Bob Dylan, Ray Charles, and Tina Turner. The session took place after the American Music Awards ceremony, so the artists came directly from the event. Quincy Jones produced the recording and famously posted a sign at the door that read, "Check your egos at the door." The song became one of the best-selling singles of all time and raised over $63 million for humanitarian aid in Africa and the United States. Michael regularly visited hospitals and children's medical centers around the world, often without publicity or media coverage. He would spend hours meeting with sick children, talking to them, signing autographs, and bringing them gifts. Many of the people who witnessed these visits said Michael was genuinely caring and seemed most comfortable and happy when he was helping children. He opened Neverland Ranch to disadvantaged and terminally ill children. He would invite entire groups from hospitals and orphanages to spend the day at the ranch, enjoying the amusement rides, seeing the zoo animals, watching movies, and playing games. He provided transportation, food, and gifts for these visits. Hundreds of children visited Neverland each year through these programs. In 1992, Michael established the Heal the World Foundation, named after his song, Heal the World. The foundation aimed to improve the lives of children around the world and address issues like global hunger, poverty, and abuse. The foundation provided funding to various children's programs and disaster relief efforts. During the Dangerous World Tour, Michael donated the proceeds from several concerts to the foundation. Michael's music often carried strong social messages. Man in the Mirror, released in 1988, encouraged people to look at themselves and make positive changes in the world. The song became an anthem for personal responsibility and social change. The lyrics asked listeners to start with themselves if they wanted to make the world better. Earth Song, released in 1995, was Michael's most ambitious statement about environmental destruction, animal cruelty, and the suffering of the planet. The song and its music video showed images of deforestation, war, poverty, and animal abuse. Michael wanted to raise awareness about environmental issues and humanity's responsibility to protect the Earth. The song was particularly popular in Europe and became one of his best-selling singles in the United Kingdom. Black or White, released in 1991, promoted racial harmony and unity. The song's message was that it did not matter if you were black or white. People should be judged by their character and actions. The music video featured people of different races and cultures morphing into one another, showing that beneath surface differences, all humans are essentially the same. The video was a groundbreaking use of technology for the time. They Don't Care About Us, released in 1996, addressed issues of prejudice, police brutality, and social injustice. The song was controversial because some of the lyrics were criticized as potentially anti-Semitic, though Michael said his intent was to speak out against all forms of discrimination. He later revised some of the lyrics, but maintained that the song was about fighting oppression. Michael made personal donations to numerous causes throughout his life. After the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, he organized a benefit concert called United We Stand. What more can I give to raise money for the victims and their families? He donated significant amounts to children's hospitals, AIDS research, and cancer treatment centers. He supported the United Negro College Fund, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, and many other organizations. When natural disasters struck, Michael often donated money and encouraged his fans to contribute as well. After an earthquake in Armenia in 1988, he made substantial donations to relief efforts. One aspect of Michael's charitable work that made it particularly effective was his willingness to use his celebrity to draw attention to causes. When he visited hospitals or supported charitable organizations, media coverage would follow, which helped raise awareness and often inspired others to contribute as well. However, some critics questioned the effectiveness of some of Michael's charitable foundations. After his death, investigations revealed that some of the foundations he established had administrative issues and did not always operate as efficiently as they could have. Some donations he promised did not always materialize. Nevertheless, the overall scope of his charitable giving throughout his life was substantial. Michael believed that artists had a responsibility to use their influence for good. In interviews, he often spoke about wanting to heal the world and make it better for children. He said that children were the future and that giving them hope, health, and happiness was the most important thing anyone could do. Many of the children who met Michael through his charitable work later shared their memories of him. Most described him as kind, gentle, and genuinely interested in their lives. He would ask about their families, their interests, and their dreams. He did not just sign autographs and take photos. He spent quality time with the children he met. Michael's humanitarian work was recognized with numerous awards. In 1984, he received a Special Award of Achievement from President Ronald Reagan at the White House for his support of charities that helped people overcome alcohol and drug abuse. In 2000, the Guinness Book of World Records recognized him for supporting 39 charities, more than any other entertainer. Despite the legal troubles and controversies that marked his later years, Michael's commitment to helping others, especially children, remained consistent throughout his life. His songs about social justice, environmental protection, and human dignity continue to inspire people around the world. His charitable contributions made a real difference in many lives, even if his personal life was complicated and controversial. After the 2005 trial, Michael Jackson's life entered a difficult period. Even though he had been found not guilty on all charges, the trial had devastated him physically, emotionally, and financially. He felt betrayed by people he had trusted, exhausted from the legal battle, and damaged by the intense media scrutiny. He decided to leave the United States and spent most of the next few years living abroad. Michael first went to Bahrain as a guest of Sheikh Abdullah bin Hamad Al Khalifa, a member of the Bahraini royal family. The Sheikh was a fan of Michael's music and offered him a place to recover from the trial. Michael stayed in Bahrain for about a year, living in luxury and trying to regain his health and peace of mind. During this time, he worked on some music with the Sheikh, though these collaborations never resulted in released albums. From Bahrain, Michael moved around, spending time in Ireland, London, and other European locations. He traveled with his 3 children, trying to give them experiences while keeping them out of the spotlight. He was often seen shopping in costume shops, bookstores, and toy stores, usually wearing disguises to avoid being recognized. During these years, Michael rarely performed. He made occasional public appearances and attended some awards shows, but he was largely absent from the music scene. His last major musical release had been the Invincible album in 2001, which had not performed as well as his earlier albums. He was not recording new material or planning tour. Michael's financial situation became increasingly serious. He had spent lavishly throughout his career, buying expensive artwork, antiques, and jewelry. The cost of maintaining Neverland Ranch was estimated at several $1,000,000 per year. He had a large staff, expensive tastes, and generous spending habits. Legal fees from various lawsuits, including the 2005 trial, had cost him tens of millions of dollars. By 2008, Michael was facing serious financial problems. He had borrowed heavily against his assets, including his share of the Sony/ATV music publishing catalog, which included the rights to Beatles songs and was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He owed money to various creditors and was at risk of foreclosure on Neverland Ranch. In March 2006, Michael closed Neverland Ranch and moved out. Most of the staff were let go, and many of the animals were relocated to other facilities. The amusement park rides fell into disrepair. Michael never lived at Neverland again, later saying that the 2003 raid by police had violated the sanctuary and he could no longer think of it as home. In 2009, Michael needed money urgently. His longtime concert promoter, AEG Live, approached him with an idea for a comeback concert series in London. After negotiations, Michael agreed to perform 50 concerts at the O2 Arena in London. The concerts were called This Is It and were scheduled to begin in July 2009. When the concerts were announced in March 2009, tickets went on sale and sold out within hours. All 50 shows sold out, with over 750,000 tickets purchased. The demand showed that despite all the controversies, millions of fans still loved Michael and wanted to see him perform. The concerts would have been Michael's first major performances in over a decade. Michael began rehearsing for the concerts in Los Angeles. He assembled a team of dancers, musicians, and production staff. The show was designed to be spectacular, with elaborate sets, special effects, and performances of his greatest hits. People who worked on the rehearsals said Michael was excited about the shows and was working hard to prepare. However, some people involved with the production had concerns about Michael's health. He sometimes missed rehearsals or arrived late. He appeared thin and fragile. There were questions about whether he could physically handle 50 demanding concerts. Michael was 50 years old and had not toured regularly in years. The shows required intense dancing and singing for 2 hours each night. Michael had struggled with insomnia for many years. The stress of the upcoming concerts made his sleep problems worse. He had trouble sleeping and worried about his ability to perform at the level audiences expected. He told people around him that he needed help sleeping so he could rest and be ready for rehearsals and performances. Michael hired Dr. Conrad Murray, a cardiologist, to be his personal physician during the preparation for the concerts. Dr. Murray was paid $150,000 per month by AEG Live to care for Michael. Dr. Murray began giving Michael various medications to help him sleep, including benzodiazepines like lorazepam and diazepam. When these medications did not work well enough, Michael asked Dr. Murray for propofol, a powerful anesthetic normally used only in hospitals during surgery. Propofol causes immediate unconsciousness and is not meant to be used as a sleep aid. It requires constant monitoring because it can stop a person's breathing. Dr. Murray later admitted that he had been giving Michael propofol almost every night for 2 months to help him sleep. On the night of June 24, 2009, Michael returned home to his rented mansion in the Holmby Hills neighborhood of Los Angeles after rehearsals. He went to bed but could not sleep. Dr. Murray gave him various medications throughout the night, including lorazepam and midazolam, but Michael still could not sleep. In the early morning of June 25, Dr. Murray gave Michael a dose of propofol. According to Dr. Murray's later testimony, he left Michael alone to make phone calls and use the bathroom. When he returned to the bedroom, Michael was not breathing. Dr. Murray said he tried to revive Michael with CPR but was unsuccessful. He called for help, and paramedics arrived within minutes. They attempted to revive Michael at the house and then transported him to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. Despite the efforts of the paramedics and hospital staff, Michael Jackson was pronounced dead at 2:26 p.m. on June 25, 2009. He was 50 years old. The news spread quickly around the world, and within minutes, the internet was flooded with searches for information about Michael. Some websites crashed because so many people were trying to access them at the same time. The initial reports said Michael had suffered cardiac arrest. In the following days, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy to determine the exact cause of death. Toxicology tests showed that Michael had lethal levels of propofol in his system, along with benzodiazepines. The official cause of death was acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication, and the manner of death was ruled a homicide. Dr. Conrad Murray was charged with involuntary manslaughter. His trial took place in late 2011. Prosecutors argued that Dr. Murray had acted recklessly and negligently by administering propofol in a home setting without proper equipment or monitoring. The defense argued that Michael had somehow given himself additional propofol while Dr. Murray was out of the room. The jury found Dr. Murray guilty of involuntary manslaughter in November 2011. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison, but served only 2 years before being released. He lost his medical license and faced numerous civil lawsuits related to Michael's death. Michael's death shocked the world. Millions of people mourned, gathering at his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, outside the Apollo Theater in New York, and at other locations significant to his life. A public memorial service was held at the Staples Center in Los Angeles on July 7, 2009. The service was attended by family, friends, and celebrities, and it was broadcast live around the world with an estimated audience of 2.5 billion people. During the memorial, Michael's daughter Paris, who was 11 years old, spoke publicly for the first time. She said through tears that her father had been the best father anyone could imagine. Stevie Wonder performed, as did Mariah Carey, Lionel Richie, and others. Magic Johnson, Brooke Shields, and Berry Gordy gave speeches. The service was emotional and celebrated Michael's life and achievements. Michael's body was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California, on September 3, 2009, more than 2 months after his death. The burial was private, attended only by family and close friends. The rehearsal footage from the This Is It concerts was compiled into a documentary film of the same name. The film was released in October 2009 and showed Michael rehearsing and preparing for the concerts. It gave fans a final look at Michael's artistry and dedication to his craft. The film became the highest-grossing documentary of all time at that point, earning over $261 million worldwide. Michael's death raised many questions about the pressures of fame, the responsibilities of doctors to their patients, and the dangers of prescription drug abuse. It ended the life of one of the most talented and controversial entertainers in history, leaving behind a complex legacy that continues to be examined and debated. Michael Jackson died in 2009, but his influence on music, dance, and popular culture remains powerful today. He is widely regarded as one of the most significant cultural figures of the 20th century, and his impact can be seen and heard everywhere in the entertainment industry. His legacy is complex, marked by extraordinary artistic achievements and serious controversies, but his contributions to music cannot be denied. Michael's impact on the music industry was revolutionary. He broke down racial barriers at a time when MTV and radio stations were still largely segregated by race. Before Michael's success with Thriller, MTV rarely played videos by black artists. Michael's popularity forced the channel to play his videos, which opened doors for other black artists like Prince, Whitney Houston, and many others who followed. He changed what music videos could be. Before Michael, music videos were often simple performance footage or basic promotional tools. Michael transformed them into art, creating elaborate mini-movies with storylines, choreography, special effects, and high production values. Videos like Thriller, Beat It, Bad, and Smooth Criminal set new standards that influenced how music videos are made today. Michael's dancing remains unmatched in popular music. He combined moves from various styles, including jazz, ballet, tap, and street dance, creating a unique vocabulary of movement. The moonwalk became his signature move, but he created dozens of others that dancers still study and copy. His precision, grace, and energy while dancing set a standard that few have matched. Many of today's biggest artists cite Michael Jackson as their primary influence. Beyoncé has spoken about studying his performances and trying to bring the same level of excellence to her own shows. Usher, Justin Timberlake, Chris Brown, Bruno Mars, and countless others have acknowledged that Michael inspired their careers. Even artists in different genres, from hip-hop to rock to electronic music, have been influenced by his work. Michael's album sales remain remarkable. Thriller is still the best-selling album of all time, with certified sales of over 66 million copies. His total record sales are estimated to be over 400 million worldwide, making him one of the best-selling music artists in history. After his death, his album sales increased dramatically as people rediscovered his music or bought it to remember him. The business side of Michael's career also had a lasting impact. In 1985, Michael purchased the ATV Music Publishing catalog for $47.5 million. This catalog included the rights to most of the Beatles' songs, along with thousands of other songs. Later, the catalog merged with Sony's music publishing division to form Sony/ATV, which became the largest music publishing company in the world. Michael's 50% share of this catalog was worth several $100 million. This purchase showed other artists that they could own and control their own work and the work of others. It demonstrated that musicians could be successful business people, not just performers. However, It also caused tension between Michael and Paul McCartney, who had advised Michael about music publishing, but was upset when Michael bought the Beatles' catalog. After Michael's death, his estate has been managed by executors who have worked to preserve and expand his legacy. The estate has earned billions of dollars through album sales, merchandise, shows like Cirque du Soleil's Michael Jackson 1, and licensing deals. In 2016, the estate sold its share of Sony/ATV to Sony for $750 million. Michael has been one of the highest-earning deceased celebrities every year since his death. Several posthumous releases have kept Michael's music in the public consciousness. Albums like Michael in 2010 and Escape in 2014 featured unreleased tracks that Michael had recorded over the years. While these albums were not as successful as his classic releases, they reminded people of his talent and gave fans new material to enjoy. The musical MJ. The musical opened on Broadway in 2022, telling Michael's story through his music and focusing on the making of the Dangerous tour. The show received mixed reviews from critics but was embraced by fans and has been commercially successful, introducing Michael's music to new audiences. However, Michael's legacy is complicated by the accusations of child sexual abuse that were made against him during his life and after his death. In 2019, the documentary Leaving Neverland was released, featuring two men, Wade Robson and James Safechuck, who claimed that Michael had sexually abused them when they were children. Both men had previously defended Michael, including testifying on his behalf during the 2005 trial. The documentary was graphic and disturbing, detailing the alleged abuse over many years. It reignited debates about Michael's relationship with children and whether his artistic legacy could or should be separated from the allegations against him. Some radio stations reduced or stopped playing his music. Some fans felt betrayed and could no longer listen to his songs. Others believed the accusers were not credible and continued to defend Michael. The Michael Jackson estate denied all the allegations and sued HBO, which broadcast the documentary, claiming it violated a non-disparagement clause from a 1992 contract. The case went to arbitration. Supporters of the accusers said people should believe survivors of abuse. Supporters of Michael said the timing and details of the accusations were questionable and that Michael deserved to be presumed innocent. This debate reflects a larger cultural conversation about how society should handle accusations against powerful or famous people, especially when those people are no longer alive to defend themselves. It raises difficult questions about whether and how to separate art from the artist, whether artistic contributions excuse or balance personal failings, and how to honor complexity in historical figures. Despite these controversies, Michael Jackson's influence on music and entertainment cannot be erased. His innovations in music videos, his dancing, his vocal techniques, and his ability to cross cultural and racial boundaries changed popular music forever. Songs like Billie Jean, Beat It, Thriller, Man in the Mirror, and many others remain classics that are still played, covered, and enjoyed decades after their release. Michael's humanitarian work and his songs promoting social justice also form an important part of his legacy. We Are the World continues to be remembered as a landmark moment in charity music. Earth Song and Man in the Mirror still resonate with people who care about the environment and social change. Michael Jackson was a complicated person who lived an extraordinary life in the public eye from childhood until his death. He was a brilliant artist who brought joy to hundreds of millions of people through his music and performances. He was also a troubled individual who struggled with his appearance, his childhood trauma, his relationships, and serious accusations that remain controversial. His legacy includes the highest of artistic achievements and the lowest of alleged personal failings. How people remember Michael Jackson often depends on which aspects of his life they emphasize. For some, he will always be the king of pop, a transcendent entertainer whose music and dancing brought magic to the world. For others, the accusations and controversies overshadow his artistic contributions. Many people hold both views simultaneously, acknowledging his genius while questioning his personal life. What remains certain is that Michael Jackson was one of the most influential entertainers in history. His music continues to be enjoyed, his videos continue to be watched, his dance moves continue to be copied, and his influence continues to be felt across the entertainment industry. The debates about his life and legacy will likely continue for generations, but his impact on popular culture is permanent and undeniable.